Hello everyone, this is Math 0028, Section 3.4, the U-Try problems. So I think we've got about 4 problems to do on the U-Tries today. So this section is all about trial and error. So what you have to do here is you're going to need to find the factors of the first and last terms, and together when you check the outer plus the inner, that should add up to the middle term. So if we look at the first one here, letter A, we have 2x squared minus 17x plus 21. The first thing you look for is the greatest common factor, a GCF. We don't have one. So you can automatically go ahead and set up parentheses, set up like FOIL, what it looks like FOIL. And we need to find the factors of 2 and of 21. Okay, so I'm going to write down those factors. So the factors of 2, I just have 1 times 2. And 21, I have 1 and 21 and 3 times 7. So, excuse me, on this one, the less choices, the better off you are, because the more choices, it just means there's more things to test out and make sure to find the right one that works. So what you're going to do is you can put the factors of the first number in the first place as a FOIL. So the factors of 2, you're going to put in 1 and 2, and you're going to split those up an x with each one of those, so that you get, for your first term, 1x times 2x gives you 2x squared. So we've got the first term is good to go. Then we're going to look at 21, and we want to put in the factors of 21. So I would probably not start with 21, just 1 and 21, because it hardly ever works. So I would probably use 3 and 7. So I'm just going to put those in, 3 in the first parentheses and 7 in the last. So now we need to do two things. We need to figure out what the signs are going to be, and we need to check the outer plus the inner terms to see if that's going to add up to our middle term, because we know that we have 21, but we need to make sure we get that negative 17 in the middle. So the sign rule is, if the last term is positive, the rule is you go to the middle sign, and whatever that sign is on the middle term, that's what goes in both sets of parentheses. So it's going to be a minus in both. Now, we need to check the outer plus the inner, the oi. Check the oi. Okay, so the outer term is 1x times negative 7. That's negative 7x. And the inner terms, negative 3 times 2x, would be negative 6x. Well, that gives you negative 13x. That's close, but it's not right, because we want negative 17. So I'm going to, since I don't have an eraser with this thing, we're going to start over down underneath. So here's the thing. We've got the wrong number, so I need to switch some numbers. So I'm going to keep the 1x and the 2x in the first place as a FOIL for the 2x squared. I'm not messing with that. When you need to move things around, you only need to switch one set of factors, okay? So before we get rid of the 7 and 3 and say, hey, those don't work, you can flip the 7 and the 3, flip their positions. So I'm going to put the 7 at the beginning in the first parentheses and the 3 in the last one. The signs are still both going to be negative, okay? So now, once again, check the outer plus the inner. So the outer term, 1x times negative 3, is negative 3x. Negative 7 times 2x is negative 14x. Well, you add those and keep the sign, that's going to give you negative 17x, which is our middle term. That's what we want. So yay, here is your answer. Okay? Excuse me. So letter B, we have 4x squared plus 11x minus 20. Oops. So the first thing you do is look for a GCF. Nothing goes into 4, 11, or 20, and we don't have a common factor with the variables. So we're going to do trial and error. We're going to set up FOIL. Okay, so we need to find the factors of 4 and the factors of 20. So the factors of 4, we have 1 and 4 and 2 times 2. And you want to keep those in their pairs together. For 20, we have 1 and 20, 2 times 10, and 4 times 5. Okay, So here's the thing. Normally for 4, I would say start with 2 and 2. But if you try and put, remember, one of those 2's is going to have to go with one of the numbers over here with the 20. And one of the things you can't have, you cannot have a greatest common factor in any one of your parentheses. So one of those 2's could not go with the 20 because they have a common factor. 2 and 2 and 2 and 10, you got common factors everywhere. That's not going to work. And 2 and 2 with 4 and 5, the 2 and the 4 couldn't be together. So the 2 and the 2's, those two 2's, they're out. They just won't work with any of the factors of 20. So let's try for 4x squared. Let's try 1x and 4x. Okay? So that's going to give us that 4x squared for the first term. Now, we could use 20 in the first one and 1 on the other side, but that's a really big number, so I probably wouldn't try that. 2 and 10, you can't put the 2 with the 4 because that would have a common factor, and you also can't put the 10 with the 4 because they have a common factor of 2. So 2 and 10, they're out. Okay, that's just not going to work. But 4 and 5 could possibly work, especially if you make sure that the 4 is in the first parentheses. You could not put the 4 in the second parentheses with the other 4, but you can put it in the first and put the 5 in the second. Now, here's the tricky part. The last term is negative. So what that means is that the signs in your parentheses have to be opposites. So if this is negative, if the last term is negative, the signs are opposites, okay, of each other. So I'm just going to try a plus and a minus, okay? You could put the minus first and then the plus. I put the plus first because I'm a very positive person. So anyway, now we have to check the OI. So the outer term, 1x times negative 5, is negative 5x. And then the inner term, 4 times 4x, that's going to be positive 16x. Well, negative 5 plus 16 gives me 11x, which is what I wanted. So this works, and that's your answer. Now, just a note, on these two problems that we just did, the very first parentheses, we had 1x plus 4 and 1x minus 7. Remember, WebAssign does not like you to write the 1, so I would put it in as x plus 4, 4x minus 5, and over here on A, leave that 1 off in front of the x and just put x minus 7, 2x minus 3, because they don't like that coefficient of 1 there. All right, so just be careful about that. All right, I think we have a couple more to try. Yep, okay. So 10x squared plus x minus 2. And if you look, there's no GCF. So we're going to set up FOIL, and we're going to find the factors of 10 and the factors of 2. So the factors of 10, I have 1 times 10, 2 times 5. For 2, we just have 1 and 2. All right, so we're only trying to get a middle term of 1, because that's that coefficient on the x is 1, positive 1x. So I'm not going to start with 1 and 10, because that hardly ever works. Whenever you're doing trial and error, start with the small factors that are close to each other, like 2 and 5 are closer to each other than 1 and 10. So I'm going to try 2x and 5x. So a lot of trial and error is just educated guesses, which irritates the stew. I almost said a bad word. The stew out of students, because it just makes them crazy. They're like, what do you mean I have to guess? Math should not be guessing, but in this case you do have to do a little bit of that. Now, here's one thing that will help you. We have 1 and 2 for the 2 on the end. You can't put the 2 in the first parentheses because 2 and 2 can't be together. That's a GCF. So that's how one thing will help you. That would have to be 1 in the first parentheses and 2 in the second. Now, once again, the last term's a negative, so I'm going to have opposite signs. I'm just going to put a plus and a minus because I just always do it that way. And now we need to check the outer plus the inner. Okay, so the outer term, 2x times negative 2, is negative 4x, and 1, the inner term, 1 times 5x would be plus 5x. So negative 4 plus 5 gives me positive 1x, which is what we have in the middle. So there is your answer. Okay? And letter D. So when I was looking at this before I started the video, I was like, whew, that one's going to be rough. We do not have a GCF, so we set up FOIL. We're going to find the factors of 12. So 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And for 9, we have 1 times 9 and 3 times 3. Okay, so normally, and I think this might actually work. With the 12, I'm going to start with 3 and 4. Okay, I'm going to put in 3x and 4x. That's what I always start with for 12. Okay, now for 9, here's the thing. You can't use the 3 and the 3 because you can't put a 3 with the 3x. So, and if you flipped it, it's still a 3. So 3 and 3 are going to be out, at least with this set of numbers with the 3 and the 4. But we could use 1 and 9 because if you put the 9 with the 4x, those do not have a GCF there. That would be okay. And put the 1 in the first part. So if you just put it in the way it's listed, 1 and 9, we don't have any common factors in our parentheses. Okay, now look at the signs. The last term is positive, so we have to go to the middle term to see what sign to put in there. That means they're both going to be positive. Okay, use the middle sign of the middle term. Now check the OI. So the outer term 3x times 9 is 27x, and 1 times 4x, the inner term, would be positive 4x. And 27 plus 4 gives you 31x. So it works. Okay, so there is your answer. And that is it for 3.4 U-Tries. Good luck with that homework and quiz.